from this. Okay. Recording in progress. There we go. So take it away, Steve.
Got it. Okay. Well, on our tips and tricks this morning, we're going to talk about multiple exposures. And basically what that means is you can take more than one exposure on a one frame in your image. And I experimented with this during the Vasa as people were riding through on their bicycles. And what I was hoping to do was get like a bicycle going by and the background to be still and get some motion with the person riding by. And I wanted like 3 to 5 images on that one frame so that I could show that person clearly in 3 different places, but still have motion in it. So it just looked like it was going across the screen. And I couldn't get that. All I could get was a ghost image of the person. It definitely showed motion, but you could just barely even see the person at all. So I was very disappointed with that. I don't know what I was doing wrong or if I was doing anything wrong. It just may not work for that.
I don't think that will work with your camera.
Okay.
The way the camera blends the images, it's going to try and remove anything that moves.
And I think that's what it was trying to do. So I didn't get a chance to go out and try it at night with the stars and do star trails. I was thinking that I could set it up and good morning, Alan. I was thinking I could set it up and start a star trail image and say do maybe 10 minutes. And then of course, because I have my camera set on noise reduction and such for night, I was wondering how that would work with the multiple image thing. And it says in my book on my camera that it automatically turns that stuff off when it does the multiple images. So I'm thinking that with the motion and everything, that would also get rid of the noise. I don't know for sure. When it stacks the images, the noise should clear up. And the book did say that the first images would be awful and very grainy. And that when the final image came up, it should be gone or much better. But I didn't get a chance to try that. I figured if I did 5 images at 10 minutes, that'd be 30 minutes of exposure. So you'd get a pretty fair star trail to try it. And I didn't get out to do it. However, one other thing I did, I'm gonna share the screen here a minute. Oh, I'm disabled, Mary. What I did was I did an image of some leaves on my deck. And I did one exposure of the leaf, very clear, very sharp. And then I did another pic. You ready? Try again. Yeah. So the second image I did totally out of focus. And then when the camera matched them up, you can see the image that it showed here. And I had a camera that did this by itself. You just had a setting on the dial on the top, the program dial. and it would do this automatically by itself. And it was a film camera. And so when I no longer could do that, I was quite upset about it because I really liked what it did. So I was trying to imitate that. Obviously, I had too much out of focus or something going, but it still come out pretty neat. It was way too bright when when I downloaded from the camera to my computer. So I had to darken it quite a bit to get the image that I have here. But that worked pretty good. So now what you have to do though is you can go into your programs and find where it says multiple exposures and then turn that on, and you'll get a window that gives you your choices on what you can do. On my camera, I can set up to 9 images
Wow.
on one exposure. So I figured, if I were doing star trails at 10 minutes, 9 images, wow, that could be up to, an hour and a half. So, and I think some people do that with multiple exposures and just blend them with a program in their computer. So I don't really know how functional this program would be to be able to do multiple exposures. Terry, do you have any ideas on things that you could do with that?
Well, the thing is, I don't understand exactly how the camera processes multiple images like that. Usually there's a setting that will tell you that it's using like a certain blend mode to put the images together. Now, if you do it in Photoshop and you just take a whole series of images, say you got 20 images if you're doing star trails, and you do each of them at 1 minute or something of the sort, and then you just stack all the images in Photoshop and use the blend mode screen, it will always look for what is lighter than the base image. So that way it'll just show the star trail, and that works very easy. But I don't think the camera does that. I think it has a different way of putting images together.
Okay. Well, it seems to have a different way of putting it together. Some of the things you can do is you can set it to show all your images and the blended image, or you can have it just show the blended image. And so basically what it does, it blends them all together and gets rid of the original images for that one. Mine on control function, that's the way I could get it to keep the one image, and then after each exposure, it would go back to being multiple exposure again. But it wouldn't, I had trouble with it being able to shoot the next series. I don't know what was going on. So I had a lot of trouble with playing with that and trying to explain it to people because I couldn't get it to work either. So I was able to get it to work though with this continuous shooting, where for some reason they worked opposite of what the book told me. When with continuous shooting, I just had to push the little paintbrush button on the back of my camera and just set it for multiple exposure again. And all my settings were already still there. So then I could shoot another series of images. I think what's best in doing this is when you set the amount of images you want, you take your first image at a particular technique or settings. And then the second one, you need to make adjustments to get it what you want. For instance, this one image of this leaf here, the first image looked great, but the second image was way too light. And so I had to give it way less exposure. I had to cut it way back. I don't know, I probably did 15 different images of this leaf to get what close I wanted. The other thing is, I like to use live view. And when you take your first image, it automatically turns off live view. And so then you have to look through the eyepiece to do whatever else you're going to do. And that's not all bad unless you're doing something close to the ground and you're trying to do something with, say, a small flower or a bug or something of that sort. I did this because I had one member that was really interested in trying to get this to work, and I said, well, I can do that and can get back with you and we'll put it on here. I can't do that. I'm just having my darn troubles trying to get it to work the way I wanted it to. It did explain that if you're doing multiple exposures, say you're doing 3 images, you want to have them each 1/3 stop less than what you would what the metering says to do. So if the metering says to shoot, let's say 1 second at f8, and when you shoot your image, you want to you can use your exposure compensation and just take it down 1/3. So it'd be like 1/3 of a second for each image.
That's the same as I might give you the wrong name, but isn't that the same as HHR?
Oh, yeah, HDR, yeah, I believe it is. Yeah. But it did explain that. And it does have, if you look in your manual, mine also has, I guess what you would call bullets at the bottom, where certain things are turned off or adjusted, the camera will do automatically when you set certain settings for these. There are so many different settings. You can use RAW. In fact, it tells you you can only select RAW to do these images, which I thought was kind of interesting with HDR. It preferred more like a JPEG, but it could do RAW. And I also found that deleting images after you've done them and you want to move on to something else, you didn't like them, you just want to delete them. I had a heck of a time with that too. I had to sit here with the book in hand. Whoop, there it is. The book in hand and my camera and sit there and do everything it says one by one to get them deleted. And even then I had trouble getting it to do it right. So I wound up formatting the camera, the card, to get what I wanted deleted. So I found that to be very difficult. I personally, I probably would never use it again unless I'm doing something like this. It's kind of like an Orton effect. So, and I know Terry knows what an Orton. Does everybody know what an Orton effect is?
No.
No. Well, you notice this image is slightly blurred and softened. If you look at the old black and white images on old movies, you know, say a Humphrey Bogart movie, and they bring up the leading lady and they have this softening effect in the image. So she's kind of blurred a little bit. So her skin looks smoother and softer, and it gives her more of a little bit of it hides her blemishes, let's say. So that's kind of what the Orton effect is. And this is overdone quite a bit, but it was kind of fun trying, but I just couldn't get it to work. So I'm going to have to sit down with this particular person and say, okay, let's play with this and see what we can get, what you understand and what I understand, and maybe get this figured out. And if I do, I can bring it back again and see what we can talk about.
Steve, I've got a question.
Sure.
I'm looking at my camera, at the back of my camera here, and it talks about number of frames, and it has 2F, and it won't move off of that. So that's one. And I'm not asking to explain that, but the other thing that's on here is something called auto gain. And then the third thing, which is grayed out, is called overlay. So I'm sure that I have to figure out how you use all those things together, but I don't know what auto gain means. Can somebody explain that to me?
Well, gain, boy, I don't exactly know how to put that into words. Terry, can you explain the gain in the images? I mean, there's a place in Photoshop or in Lightroom's raw converter that you can adjust the gain. But I don't exactly know how to put that into.
Does it have something to do with light, or does it have something to do with clarity, or does it have something to do with something else?
I think it's somewhat similar to exposure, but technically I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I rarely use that when I'm adjusting images in my raw converter. So I really don't know exactly what the gain does, but yeah, I agree with Terry. It has something to do with the exposure. Somebody else was going to say something?
Yeah,
It's
usually
actually-
when you're talking gain in electronics, it's like the amplifier. You're turning up the amplifier. Your camera sensor puts out a signal, and it's all sorts of information. When you by turning up gain, you're amplifying the whole signal.
Okay, so if she's adjusting the gain in her camera, it will amplify the signal so she can see the image better on the back of her, on her monitor.
Probably.
Or
Yeah,
maybe it makes it
it'll-
more sensitive.
Yeah, it makes it more sensitive and
Is it just for the back of the camera, or is it in the actual exposure of the shot?
I would guess, I'm not 100% certain, but when you're talking about gain like that, it cranks up all the information that's being saved
Oh,
to the car. You basically, when a photon hits the sensor, it generates a voltage. And
wow.
by turning up the gain, instead of 1 volt, you can crank it up to 2. So everything gets magnified.
Oh,
Okay,
Is this on the same lines as ISO increase?
Yeah, it's all
Hmm.
it's related, I would say. Yeah.
okay.
By changing the ISO, that's what it's doing. It's cranking up the gain.
Oh,
So, instead of a dark photon comes in and it generates an electrical signal when it hits the sensor. So by turning up the ISO, that's what you're doing. You're turning up the gain. So instead of 1 volt, you get 2 volts.
so it's really
And
just a
that is
different
what gets
wording.
recorded on the card in the back of in the camera.
So it's real.
It is a little bit different. What you're doing is it's more an electronic thing, where it is increasing everything about the sensor. So you're going to get the good and the bad increased. ISO is more a light based. So it is increasing the sensitivity, but it's it's going through the processor. When you say turning up the gain, that means that it's not going through the processing of what the ISO is. So it is a little bit different, but for our purposes, it's not really any different.
Okay, thanks.
Now, the other thing you asked about was the overlay. And with the overlay, it's like I was saying, where you can set different settings. Like I can set my camera to show me all the images and the completed image. The completed image is the overlay, where they overlays all the images. So I'm guessing with your camera, what that means is overlay is the finished image. It makes sure that the camera will do the overlay so you can get it, or you can adjust it so it doesn't overlay and you just get all the images. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, clearly somebody, I have to go out and give this a shot and see what it does, and
Yeah,
probably
you know-
spend 10 or 12 weeks understanding this. But it's all right.
I sat on my front porch playing with it with all those people walking by and riding by on the road out front during the Vasa and or not the Vasa, the
Iceman.
Iceman. And I'd do a bunch of them, and then I'd format the camera, and then I'd start all over. And I kept trying different things, and that's exactly what you have to do. When I first get a camera, I usually spend a lot of time sitting on the couch, watching TV, reading a book, and with the camera in hand. And when I read something I like, I practice doing that with TV. I'll take pictures of the TV, and or my wife across to the other side of the room or something like that. And I keep playing with it. And then the next time I go out to do pictures, I do that same thing. I try to get that muscle memory going so I can just do that without having to have the book. But that book goes with me when I go out in the field. So it's one of those things you just got to keep practicing. Read
Yeah.
the book, find something you like, and do it.
Right.
I
So
really think the camera is a dumb tool, and you're going to be much better off trying to do what you're trying to do, Steve, using Photoshop and mixing layers. 'Cause
I
then
totally
you have-
agree with you.
Then you have control.
Yep,
Wow.
I totally agree.
Probably shoot raw, just get all the data in and then go to town.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I do shoot raw, and I could have done one. In fact, I got one image where I just did a single image of somebody riding by on their bike. I put it on second curtain sync. So, and I really didn't need it because I didn't use the flash. Don't ask me why I put it on that. It was something I learned a long time ago. And I thought, oh, maybe I need second curtain sync. But anyway, I did a picture of somebody riding by without the flash, a longer exposure. I got a good picture of them, that blurred image that I wanted. And the person at the front of that blur looked pretty good. I mean, it was still a little blurry, but you could still see that person pretty good. And I really didn't need the multiple exposures. So that's why I wonder how good that is to even have it in your camera. So,
Well, again, the thing between first curtain and second curtain sync, if you use second curtain sync, the blur in your image is going to be behind the object. If you did it the other way, if you use just a regular first curtain sync, then the blur would be in front of the image.
isn't that for when you're using a flash though?
That's what it works best on.
Okay,
Because if you're using a strobe, it will give you a crisp image of your object, and the background will then be blurred the object moving will be blurred. But the
Okay.
flash will make the object like a still image. But it's like
and the second curtain sync just puts the blur in the back, yeah,
in-
where they
going-
came from rather than where they're going.
yes.
So, okay. Maybe that's something we should talk about too sometime. All right, so are we ready to move on to see everybody's images before and after? Yes, no? Sure. All righty, I'll tell you what, I'll start off. Let me adjust this a little bit. There we go.
Yes.
So
Yes, if you had an image in.
this is one of the images that I did adjustments. Let's get that one up there, okay? And put it in develop and before and after. So right offhand, you can see in this image that the left one, the before is really bright and the right one is darker. And I got rid of most of the highlights here. The foreground is darker here, that it draws your attention away from what you're looking at. And so if you look over here on the right under basics, it's not showing me what I did. Okay. Let's get rid of this. Maybe that's it. No. Mhm. All right, what am I doing wrong here? I'm bending over too far for one. It's not showing the right picture. Oh, maybe I can. No. All right. Let's go back to library. Choose this image. Wow, what's going on here? This is not the image that I want, and it's not the one that's highlighted. Well, maybe I should just do it again.
Go to develop now, Steve, and see what happens.
Doesn't show what I did. All right, let's try a different one. Let's try this one. So that's not it. Oh, develop.
You've got two images selected there.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right, does that look better?
Yep.
So there's the before and after of this image. And this one's the basic show what I did. So if you notice here at the top, it's darker there. The water is darker down here in the bottom. The colors are more defined and more contrasty. So if you look over here on the side, you can see that I lowered the exposure a little. I lowered the highlights way down, all the way down. I put the shadows down a little bit. And then I brought the whites up. And the reason I did that was to bring out the snow to look more white than the gray that's over in this other image. And of course, I gave it a little clarity. I also adjusted down here in the color. And now I just turned it off. The yellows, I turned the luminance up because I know when I was standing there, this showed up much brighter. So I turned the yellows up. I turned the oranges way up for the same purpose. I wanted to bring out those colors brighter. And I turned the luminance up on both of them. Okay. So then on the greens, oh, usually I adjust the greens, but I didn't on this one. Okay. Go figure. So that was pretty much all I did for this image. There was some sharpening done. Let's see what I did, how much detail sharpening. So I gave it like 65 on the amount. And then for the masking, the detail and the masking, I did 95. So, because I'm trying to get rid of anything that might cause halos. So I brought it down so it only sharpened just the tiny edges. And then because I used ISO 100, I gave it a 10 for noise reduction. I didn't feel it needed much noise reduction, but I wanted to keep all the detail. So I brought that back up to 100. So that's how I got that on that image. I actually did the 3 of them, but let's go back and check the other one. Let's go back to the library and do this one. Go to develop. So there's the before and after on that. And I did a little bit more on this one. As long as I'm here, let's go with the luminance.
Steve, what does luminance mean?
It's basically a brightness, the amount of light. And
Different
so,
from vibrance?
no, vibrance is different. Vibrance is how that color pops, you know, how much you can just adjust vibrance up here in the basics. So if you turn up the vibrance, you can see how the yellows come back out in the image.
Yeah.
If you
Sort of
turn
the
it
whole-
down,
the
you can
whole
make it
thing.
almost black and white.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like saturating the colors.
Steve,
Yeah,
the vibrance slider is much more subtle than saturation in that it only deals with the mid tones, increasing the midtones, where saturation goes all the way to the black and whites. So saturation is a gross adjustment where this is actually working in a much more subtle way.
okay.
In most cases on images, I like punchy images, and so I increase the vibrance to about 40 usually, but I actually take the saturation down 10 degrees.
I really like your after on this one.
It's quite a difference from the image. This image, let's go back up here to basics. The temperature when I shot this image was at 6,500. And so I'm like, whoa, I didn't mean to do that. And so I lowered it down to 5,500, which is more what a sunny day would be. I considered going down to 5,000, but I felt that was too blue. And then I turned the shadows way down because in here it just seemed somewhat foggy in the image. And so I wanted to bring out more clarity. So I killed the shadows. And then I gave it quite a bit of clarity. I brought it up to 65. But with the colors where the real change took place, because I turned the luminance down on the green, so it's set on green. So I turned it way down, and that brought out better colors. You notice on the before picture, it's more of a yellowish kind of green, where on the right, it's more of a dark green. This is funny for me to talk about this because I'm so color deficient myself to just look at things. That's the way I saw it on the right. So, and then the yellows, I brought down the yellow saturation just a little bit, so it wasn't quite as yellow. And then the oranges, I didn't do anything. I don't believe there's anything done in the, no, I didn't do anything in the blues and purples, magentas and that type of thing. But that's where the real adjustment took place, in the color temperature in basics and in the color adjustment down below. And then the taking out the shadow, making the shadows darker, brought out more detail around it, brought out the white birch, which I felt was the main subject of the image. Okay.
Does the
Somebody else
his-
have some images they can show?
does the histogram change, Steve, when you make those changes?
Good question. Let's go back. Share. Let's go look at the histogram. Oh, you mean up here at the top on the right, at the
Yeah.
very top? Yes, it does. It does change. For instance, colors. Let's go down here and play with the blue a little bit. You see how that blue is a little bit to the left on that image? So if you turn down the luminance, let's turn up the luminance, I mean. Oh, wait a minute, no, it didn't change there. Usually it changes. Oh, I see, it's not doing anything.
You don't have many blues in that image.
All right, let's go back to yellows then. Hang on, I'm having trouble with this now. Okay, yellows. So there you can see the histogram change there when I move those.
Right, right.
Okay. I don't remember what I had that on. Let's try 35 because that looked pretty good. So let's see the oranges where I didn't change any oranges. The greens. So there you can see it moved to the right instead of up and down. Okay. And that's because it moved to the right because I was adjusting luminance, and the other one went up and down because I was adjusting saturation.
Gotcha.
If you do exposure, it'll change. Let's see, I got it on minus 36, so you can see how it moves left and right.
Mm-hmm.
So well, that didn't work. What? Move it over again. There we go.
I don't know, Steve, whether you know, you can put your cursor up on the histogram and move it right there.
So, okay, so in doing that, because I clicked on shadows, that's adjusting the shadows or the dark area. So if I were to go down here on blacks and click on that,
Well, you don't have to click on that, just go up to the histogram.
oh yeah, but it's just adjusting the shadows that I've got.
Well, go over to the right or the,
Oh, I see, okay. Now it's adjusting the exposure.
So moving the histogram actually affects these various specific settings as you're moving it back and forth.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep, it sure does. I don't know if you could, can you see the numbers on there, Mary?
Yeah, I'm gonna,
So if I do this, you can see the numbers change. Now I've got it up 1.16 stops.
Right, I'm moving. Yeah, now I can see them.
Okay? So, yeah,
I have a question when we're looking at the histogram. If you're clipping on the left, you're losing any detail and shadows. If you're clipping on the right, you're burning out detail in the highlights. What happens when your histogram clips on top? What are you losing there? Just exposure?
No. It really doesn't make any difference.
That really isn't telling you anything?
No,
Oh,
it's just a
I
value
don't think you,
of
I
the
don't think you
number.
can clip it on top.
Yeah,
so it's just a linear value you're looking at,
Yes.
right?
right.
Okay,
When you clip on either end, you're losing something, but you're not really losing anything when it goes off the top.
oh, okay. I wondered about that because sometimes I get I mean, I have a spike somewhere and it goes way over the top of the thing. I'm wondering, what did I lose?
Yeah,
and if you
So
click-
if you think about what it is it's a graph of 256. If you say 256 colors, each one of those lines in there is the value for that 256 colors. So what it's doing, see the blue spike is across a certain color range that you've got 100% of those colors. Does that make sense?
Okay,
when it's all the way to the top, you have 100%.
Yeah. For
Okay.
those values, whatever you're showing in the histogram.
It's just counting each pixel. So however many pixels you got, that's all it can count. It doesn't count more than the number of pixels.
oh. Okay,
Okay.
that's
And of
something
course-
else I don't have to worry about.
And of course, if you want to see your clipping, you click on these little squares at the top. And then when you make your adjustments,
That'll show you on the
you
image,
can see
right?
you bring it up like that, you can see the red,
Reds are burned out highlights and blues
Yep.
are lost shadows.
and then you go the other way, you can see the blues. So, it's pretty easy sometimes to just go too far. And so it's handy to have those to check.
I use those quite a bit as a kind of a guideline, where to put my threshold. And then I tweak it beyond that.
Exactly. And sometimes I actually go beyond that and go ahead and cut things off because I don't want that to, like in the dark shadows, if there's something that's supposed to be really, really black, I don't
Right.
care if it cuts it off. I want it to cut off.
Let it go blue because if you don't want detail in those shadows or whatever.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's, so, it's all a matter of artistic choice.
Right.
A lot of times, what I would do would be, if you hold down the option button and click on whites, the white slider.
Is that the same as Control or Alt?
Probably Alt in the Mac or in a PC. See everything. Yeah, now you can slide that thing over and adjust the whites to where it's just when there's nothing there, that's as far as it can go right there. That's the biggest spread you can get. And you do the same thing on blacks and set the black point. And just adjust it till all the little, everything's white. And that's the biggest spread you can get on the histogram. You've got the whole, every pixel has data.
Right. This, I found that this also applies to printing. where you can adjust your highs and lows based on the range, the exposure range that your printer paper has. That gets into another topic altogether. But,
That sure does.
yeah,
The big thing in printing is that if you clip on the highlight end, that means the printer is going to ignore that area because it says there's nothing there.
you're printing paper-based white. Yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean, at least bare paper, which is the last thing you want.
yeah,
So
right.
You always want on the white end of the spectrum to make sure there's some value there. So the printer is putting some ink down so that you don't end up with bare paper.
Good tip. So who else would like to show their pictures?
I got one I can show.
Please.
So I just hit share screen, I guess.
Yep. And then you got to choose the program that you want to share. There we go. Whoop.
So this is showing you the kind of a before and after. The image on the right is just a straight raw image. And then I process it, and that's what I came with on the left.
Anybody else having problems seeing that full screen?
Yes.
Yep.
We're only seeing the bottom quarter of your screen, Dad.
Oh,
Yeah, basically, I think you just shared
I'm sharing the program.
yeah.
Uh,
You're just sharing that one window and
Terry, that's what it looks like.
Oh. Well,
I can see the two small ones.
Yeah. Me too.
Steve, are you out of screen sharing?
I thought I clicked it out.
Okay, I'm just checking yeah, this says one
Yeah,
participant.
I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
out.
Yeah, we're just seeing the film strip.
yeah.
Yeah.
guess I don't know how to get to. I'm in Lightroom. How do I view full screen?
I assume you have full screen on your Lightroom program open.
I can't remember how you get to full screen.
Oh, there's an arrow or something at the top. You just click on that.
If you go all the way up to the top, it says you are viewing Clark's screen view options. And then there's a caret that you click. And then if that's what you're talking about, then it talks about the zoom ratio, exit full screen.
you can also do Shift Command Z. Or
Shift Command Z.
sorry, not Z, F.
Oh, did that do it?
Now it's white.
Oh,
No.
I'm gonna start sharing my screen for just a second, and then Dad, you try and do it again. That'll kick you off.
So I need to stop sharing.
No,
Oh, I did.
apparently I can't share right now.
I love those northern lights in your background.
It's just
And
one of
And they're
the
moving.
it's just one of the default ones.
Really?
Well, apparently I can't share the way my computer's set up. I can't share. So Dad, just go ahead and try and resharing again.
Wow. You know, I hate to say this, but I love it when
There it is.
when tech people have troubles. I love it. Then I don't feel so bad.
So then you should be able to click down where it has the 2 Ys to get the before and after.
Okay, that,
Oh, where'd it go?
There's, whoops, there's before
Okay,
and after.
Bottom left corner. Whoop.
right there.
so that's the before.
Oh, do you have it on develop?
No, well, I'm on full screen.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, there's a little speck right at the top of the picture. A little, I got my wrong glasses on. Right at the very top in the black area,
Mhm.
there's like a little arrow, dotted arrow.
In the
Keep
center
going
of the
up.
screen
In the center of the screen at the very
on
top.
top.
There, click on up. Right there to the right a little. You're right.
Other right.
There. You went too far. See that little white area? Click on that. Or click on the black. Click on the black
Oh.
line.
The black line.
The boundary around the image.
I don't have a boundary around the image.
Yeah, there is. It's there. I can see it. You can't see my cursor, can you?
No.
Go right an inch. A little bit more. Back to the left a little bit.
Okay.
And up, straight up.
Okay, right
Right
there.
there.
Oh,
Go ahead, click that.
click right there.
No, I'm in noting.
There you've got a pencil.
Now I got a pencil in here.
Oh,
Hit
that's
escape
good.
Whoops.
Yeah, escape.
or undo.
Hmm. Do you have a way you can put it on
How do I get
On,
out of full
develop?
screen?
if you can put it on develop and then click on the 2 Ys at the bottom, but it
Yeah,
has
how
to
do-
be in develop to be able to show the before and after.
How do I get out of full screen?
View options, exit full screen.
No.
Click down at the, hmm,
Side by side mode.
there you go.
No, but this just lets me move back to the other image, but it is not getting me back to the program.
It's not, because usually there's a little,
Hit escape again.
Escape's not getting me out.
Oh,
there
there
you
we
go.
go.
Now I've just got the showing the two images.
Yep. That's the before and after.
Yeah.
And then
How do I-
over,
How do I get back to the program? I gotta get out of full screen. Oh, there we go.
there.
Oh, we got it.
Now all you have to do is get that before and after thing going again. Click on the 2 Ys down here. There you go.
Well, I made a copy of the image,
Oh,
And when-
get out of that then.
put it back to,
Just escape that. Right at the bottom of the image to the left, there's where the stars are. There's 2 Ys. If you click on those 2 Ys, right?
oh, here's the settings that
Yep, okay.
see that I had. The theme, this is the updated version of Lightroom, and it's really amazing because they've changed the masking. It's just mind-boggling now. But these are the basic adjustments that I made. If you want, I could, I don't want to spend a lot of time doing this if somebody else wants to show other images, but I can take the original image and show how I duplicated this if you want.
Sure.
Okay, so basically the first things I usually do is I only deal with the shadows and highlights to begin with. Whoops, excuse me. Bringing up the shadows to try and I'm reducing the highlights. And then I'll mess a little bit with the blacks. More often than not, I'll just go ahead and add some texture and clarity. As I say, I usually end up going about 40 or so with the saturation and bring up vibrance to about 40. And I bring the saturation down a little bit. Then I also usually go down to the curves, and I'll actually punch up the light a little bit, bring down to the shadows a bit. And actually, many times I'll add a little bit in the midtones. As you can see, I'm getting some clipping on the blacks, so I'll go back up and bring up the blacks a little bit. Then I usually go down to the color ranges. And because blue usually gets too punchy, I'll usually desaturate the blues a bit. And I increase the yellow some. Then I'll go into luminance and brighten the yellows a bit and darken the blues a lot. And then I always make sure I get the lens correction stuff taken care of. A lot of times I'll add just a little bit of darkening on the perimeter, but then the thing that's awesome is this new system they have for masking. And the masking button is one simple button. When you click on it, now it gives you all kinds of options. And the amazing thing is it's using this AI, which is automatic, is it automatic intelligence or whatever?
Artificial.
So it's selecting an object. And it went ahead and selected this all on its own. And it's just amazing how smart it is. And so now I'm just dealing with the boat. I can go in and actually bring up the highlights a little bit. And I'm actually gonna increase the shadows. I'll bring up the lights too much. I'm going to punch up the clarity and also going to increase the saturation on the. Some of this is kind of subtle, and you may not be able to see that online, but it's just amazing what you can do. And the interesting thing with this new masking system is I can go ahead and say, I want to create another new mask. So you click on this plus button. And if I select the subject again, it selected the boat, but this time what I want to do is select everything but the boat. So I click over here and say invert So now it's selecting everything but the boat.
Hmm.
So now I can go in and say, do something else. And maybe I want to warm up the image. Maybe I want to reduce the exposure. But it's dealing with everything but the subject. So it's, I mean, it's kind of unbelievable. In this case, I may actually reduce the clarity to almost blur some of the background. And I'll reduce the saturation in the background some. So I mean, it's just, the new masking system is just mind-boggling. And I got a little down the bottom here. I don't really want, so I'll just crop that off. So basically, that's what I do when I do this, but it's just amazing and a lot of fun to play with this new updated.
That's pretty awesome. The old one, you have to paint your mask onto the subject you want to adjust.
And
That's pretty cool.
I mean, I don't want to take too much time here, but if you want to see another example, I can show you one where I had a group of people and asked it to select subject, and it was mind-boggling how it picked out the subject from a busy background.
Everybody want to see that?
Yeah,
Sure.
I'd like to see that. That would be cool.
Go for it.
This is a photo shoot that I had. These are 3 gals that are dialysis technicians. Let me get this.
Oh, that looks like way too much fun.
Oh, these gals are amazing. They're awesome. Let me.
Lynn Lombard skeletons.
Yeah, Lynn brought these 3 skeletons. And in fact, when I told Kevin we were going to do this, we did this at here, our place. And Kevin says, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to pose in that? And I said, look, with these 3 gals, all I'm going to do is get my camera ready and say, okay. And I just started clicking. These gals just went crazy. But anyway, with this image, if I click on this masking thing now and say select subject, it's going to take a minute because it's. But you see how
Wow.
it's selected the. Isn't that mind-boggling?
That is.
I mean, to me, if I tried to do that by hand, it's just unbelievable. And in some of the samples I've seen where they had a tree and they wanted to deal with just the sky, it went through the branches and selected the sky part of the image. But even in this case, where I've selected the subject, if I want to take that background, which is kind of bright, select this, go to invert. Now it's selected the background. So I can take the background now. I can, black out or do whatever I want to with just the
Wow.
background.
Wow.
Isn't that mind-boggling?
Yeah.
I might have to get that just for my flowers.
Exactly. I mean, Steve, this is just, I'm just so blown away by this. Plus the fact that, even though we've created this one mask for just the background, I can go in and say add or subtract from that mask. You can actually get a selection of a background sky less an object. I don't know how to explain how it does this stuff, but even with just doing what we did, if I wanted to say I wanted to create another mask. And in this case, I just want to use, well, I'll use a group radial gradient just for the heck of it. So I can pick her. Oh. Oh, wait a minute, I'm getting. Oh. Okay, I did that wrong. I shouldn't have. Let me create a new mask. That's a radial gradient. I'm gonna lighten her face up a bit.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Wow.
That's amazing. So
So
Terry, you think this is a precursor to being able to do layers in Lightroom?
This is actually using in effect, a layer system in the background. It's not like Photoshop, but it is doing what I had to do in Photoshop before. Because I can actually still go back and say, create another mask and only use a brush. And reduce this brush down.
Okay.
I'm just. You can see that's the area that I used the brush on.
Yep.
So I mean, it's just crazy.
Wow.
I'm just so
When-
excited.
When you went up with the tones in the middle skeleton, it looked like there was real eyes in there.
Yeah. Well, and actually, you could create a again, a gradient.
Oh, oh, wow.
It's just crazy. It's gonna be so much fun to do it.
So this is where you pay monthly
Yes,
for the Lightroom.
yep,
So you get all the new stuff.
yep.
Yeah.
And this is just brand new. They just released it. I don't know, John, when was it? A week ago?
And it hadn't been long. I didn't even know about it till the last couple of days. Definitely. I was gonna show you the same thing. It also shows up on the internet Lightroom,
Yeah,
same
Yeah.
stuff. Or so you can do it on your phone, on your iPad.
the other thing is when you're selecting your screen, like you can say select sky, if you have a landscape. I mean, it's mind-boggling how it determines what is the sky. And I mean, the examples I've seen where they had a mountainous scene where were a lot of trees that were sticking up into the sky. And it went in amazing detail, selecting the trees out of the sky. And so you can just change the whole sky with one simple mask. And then again, once you select the sky, you can actually invert it, and so it selects the ground rather than the sky. And it's
Wow.
just unbelievable.
So this is in Lightroom Classic only, right?
Oh, it's in both.
So,
Oh, it is.
yeah,
It's what?
in both.
In the
Oh,
classic and in the other one. And
Oh, okay.
it works just slightly different, but to get to it, but the menus are all the same.
Hmm.
Cool.
So internet Lightroom,
When you get the package, $10 a month package,
yeah,
you get Lightroom Classic, Photoshop, and Lightroom, plain Lightroom, which works with the Adobe Cloud. And it also works on your phone and your iPad,
wow,
but the same system is in all of it.
wow.
Why are they different? I mean, why, there must be some difference in there that would make a
It's
person
file handling.
just file him. So
Yeah,
one is in the cloud and one is only on your
Yeah.
computer.
This regular Lightroom basically is working off your hard drive locally.
There's also some UI differences. They're trying to get to the Instagram generation where there's more preset buttons and stuff like that on the cloud version. The interface is a little bit different, but
Is there-
So with that, with the internet Lightroom, so if you say you're on there for 6 months and then you decide, you don't have time, you don't want to pay the $10 a month, you just want to be on there at different times, do you lose everything?
no.
Uh-huh.
So what happens is once you have started it, you always have the ability to get to your photos, but you can't edit them. So what you can do is join for 2 months if you're going to be actively doing things, and pay your $10 a month for the 2 months, and then stop if you're not going to be doing anything, and then turn it back on if you go back to it. So
Oh, wow.
Cool.
And is that
And
the
you're-
cloud version?
you
Kevin?
get both at the same time.
Oh,
So it's the cloud version stores stuff in the cloud. So it's actually saving your images out on the cloud, which is kind of nice because you can connect to your phone. Cloud-based stuff gets you, if you have internet service, you can get to it on pretty much any device. When you're using the Classic, that's actually a program installed on your computer locally, and you're storing stuff locally on your machine, just the way you always have. Same thing with Microsoft Word and that type of stuff. So
You get everything.
yeah, you get everything for the $9 a month, both Photoshop and Lightroom.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have pictures?
Yeah, I got.
how could we follow that?
Well, let's see.
I got-
John's pretty good too.
Let's see if I can get to the right.
Well, the other thing is we're not only talking about Lightroom, but you should see what they're doing with Photoshop now. They've got AI filters that are just mind-boggling. I mean, they have one now where you can have a landscape scene. It's a summer beach scene. And you can go into this AI filters. I forget what do they call, John? I can't remember.
Artificial intelligence.
Yeah, they're artificial intelligence. They're neural filters or something. And when you
Oh.
click on them, and it's one that says like environmental, and you can tell it you want to change this to a winter scene, and it'll show snow in the image. I mean,
Wow.
it's just with a slider.
Oh, yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
remember what they call, John?
Yeah, I've taken a picture. I've taken a couple like that out of Esh Beach, and somebody kneeling in front of the fire and fireworks and balloons and everything going off at night. It was like one button and boom, there it was.
Crazy.
This is in the filters drop down.
Yeah. Well, up at the top, well, when you click on filters on the main menu, and you come down, and before the the list of like blur and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Above that, there's one where this, I forget the name, neural something or other filter. And you click on that and it brings up a whole different menu system.
Okay,
There's a series of different filters that you can select.
okay, I'll have to look, because I just got that updated here about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's something. Did you figure out how to do this, John?
Yeah, I've got a new computer and all the settings changed and it's not allowing me to change things. So I'm fixing. But give me a second here.
I feel right at home.
You are right at home.
Yes, I am.
I may have to
But you
drop
know what
off
I
and-
meant. I love
think
it
I
when
have to-
tech people are, oh, wait.
Yeah, sorry.
I love that.
I gotta drop off Zoom and I'll be right back.
Okay.
So here's your assignment. While he's doing that, I want everybody to go out and try to figure out how their camera can do multiple exposures. And then report back to us and let me know what you've done or how it worked.
We should probably do a group shoot on that.
know-
Not till after December.
Right, you're right. Yes,
I'm gonna be busy.
absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the things that we did when we were looking at the survey, people really liked the idea of what we called an educational shoot, where we would actually have a topic like this or something else. And we would have a couple of professional, a couple of folks in the club that really knew what they were doing with that particular
people.
technique. Pardon me?
More advanced.
Text.
Yes, we get the text, or we just get people who know what they're doing and take out a couple of groups of people and sort of play with that technique out in a field, in a shoot. It doesn't have to be a big hoo-ha, but we did one when we started this back in 2019. And, we hadn't quite got our legs under us, but I think that's an educational shoot periodically would be really, might draw in a lot more folks from the club,
Yeah.
And of course now it's winter, but you could still do that in the winter.
Oh, absolutely. We do group shoots in the winter and they're fabulous.
Yeah. So it's just a thought, and I know you're the queen of shoots. So I throw that out there, and maybe Steve, you have an idea, maybe do on one of these upcoming discussion groups. I like the idea of go out
Yeah.
and do something and
Yes.
bring it back. So,
Well, and we've done that before, like with certain lenses where, okay, we're going to use we've called it the nifty 50. You just bring
Right.
your 50 millimeter and you just shoot all day with that. Or, we've done that before too. And that's really fun.
yeah, and I think it's a good learning tool.
Oh, it is.
Mhm.
It is. Yeah, we can play with that.
Yeah, think of that idea.
Are you seeing my Lightroom screen?
We
Yes. I
You
was
are?
wondering who that was. Who's,
Okay. Here's a great shot. Get this thing out of the way so I can.
Kudu.
It is a Oryx,
Okay.
and they are not native to the US, but I took this picture in New Mexico at Sevieta National Wildlife Refuge. They've been brought to the US at a big farm over near White Sands and as hunting animals. And they escaped. So now there's a herd that lives here.
Cool.
So obviously overexposed. And I think what I did, oh, and just run the exposure down. And it, so it's like 2.5 overexposed. But what I've been doing, playing with, is doing the same thing Terry was talking about, going to the new masking deal. And basically you can attach it to your side thing here. Well, I don't know how to unattach it.
When you click on that button, it automatically opens a new window.
Yeah, see, I've got it set up over here in the,
Oh, okay.
all you have to do is what you saw with Terry, it showed up a window up over in the upper right-hand corner. You can grab that thing and drag it over to this column. And when the line turns blue, you release it and it's here all the time instead of floating around the picture. So selecting subject, see, I did a lousy job on this one. But if I turn the bus, and it works just like Photoshop, the left right brackets. Subtract. And I want to add to it. Whoops, what happened here? There it
Amy, you're not allowed to applaud at that.
is.
I'm in heaven.
Yeah. Add the mask with say the brush.
Sorry, I'm making noises.
Whatever. And I wanted to get his horns there. And I'm not doing this real fast, but now I've got the control over the animal.
Wow.
Another one that's nice is this linear gradient. And so now I'm masking all of that, everything in red, and say darken it up. Like dehaze, if I want to mess with the dehaze or sharpness, instead I can kind of
When you darken
Screw
it
it
up
up.
like that, it makes it look like there's more sun shining on the grass that's closer to the animal and on the animal than anywhere else, like the clouds opened up.
yeah, maybe do it on the top and turn that down. And all of a sudden things start popping where you want to. And I would probably turn that down, and all of a sudden that's a halfway decent picture from shit.
Yeah.
My favorite word.
And you know, I found that you get a much better edit when you do this if you take an overexposed picture and make it darker rather than a darker picture and make it brighter.
Yeah, I think cameras tend to record some information in there, and it's recorded when it's black. There's nothing there.
And when you bring it up, it just gets real grainy. So, but when you bring
Yes.
it down, you don't get that grain.
And there's one like this.
Where's this?
This is a very large array. This is Also in southern New Mexico, up on the mountain. They actually filmed the Jodie Foster movie.
Yeah, I
forget
know
what
which
it's
one you
called,
mean.
Contact.
Oh, I love that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, they filmed it here.
Oh,
There are 27 of these dishes in a great
oh,
big Y formation. From each leg from the center is 7 miles, and there's
Oh.
7 dishes on each leg, and they got a train so they go out and pick up a dish and move it in to preset locations, and it acts like a great big zoom lens, except
wow,
it's electronic.
wow.
The dish itself, it's 80 meters across. I mean, that's like
Wow.
200 and some odd feet. You can, and there's 27 of them. You get an idea just how big this sucker is, but
Wow.
it's all controlled by a guy sitting up in the office. But you want to try this, select sky. Let's see how she does. Boom. See, it picked up all the stuff in between here just instantly.
Yeah.
And
John, zoom in around the base of that thing so you can see how well it did.
yeah. Well,
For
come on.
clarity.
No. No,
I don't know why. There we go.
look at that.
Wow. Look at that.
And we're up at 800% zoom.
Wow.
This stuff blows me away how well it does in spots like this.
Just
In the
unbelievable. And I think of how many hours I've spent painting masks for some of that stuff.
Wow.
want to change the sky to green.
Wow.
Oh, they're trying to talk to people in space, so.
Well, yeah, just maybe you want to make a nighttime shot out of it. Stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah, you can use like, yeah, I mean, here, let's just do this. New mask and color range. So now I got it set for color range. It's picking up on gives you a so now I'm working with that color, so I can change that color. There we go. So I changed her to a didn't do very well, but you can see changing her jacket to green, stuff like that.
Wow.
So I'm with Terry. This new stuff here is amazing. There's some